That funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live at 5 on the Bookie Network, Rumble X, YouTube. Check us out. Subscribe, type in IE Newswire, Roy Bleckert on Rumble. You'll see my nice, smiling, shining face. Of course, we will be on the Mighty Met, 1490 AM, as we do at the bottom of the hour every Monday through Friday. On that, lots of stuff going on. B.S. Rob Bono wants to shut off the oil pipelines. He's suing Trump. What a maroon. $23 million in vagrant fraud just uncovered down in L.A. Harupa Valley cops doing a great thing using off-highway vehicles and stuff to clean out the vagrants in the disastrous Santa Ana riverbed where they've been doing, where it's a constant battle keeping them out. Purdue cops in a pursuit that stopped in Riverside, and they wound up killing and shooting the suspect on that. Newsom getting his ass handed to him in Davos. We'll have some more on top of that. But lead story of the day, hookers going in the upscale neighborhoods of Larchmont, walking down the street, nude, doing their tricks, it seems like, right out in public. I'll say it ain't so. But man, first we're going to start with the Fox 11 report, because that was just flat wild on that, what it started out with. But here, hopefully, we go.
That's just from last night?
Oh, sometimes it's worse.
The disgusting wake-up call in a Larchmont neighborhood morning after morning.
We see used condoms with semen leaking out of them on the street.
Whoa! He just used condoms with semen leaking and blood leaking out of them in the streets. As you see in the KTLA 5, the young lady out there in her birthday suit in Larchmont, which is just east of Beverly Hills. This is not a poor neighborhood by any means. Maybe not quite as rich as Beverly Hills, but hey, this is not the barrio. This is not Edgemont, California. Let me put it that way. No, this is down there in the west side of LA. This is one of your very, very, very upscale, high-dollar neighborhoods, and the hookers are just rolling in there like Grant through Richmond, doing their wares right out in public in the scenes. Get more on the KTLA 5 report, which has a few more details in it, hopefully.
Village with the story. Rachel?
Share, Rick, people tell us that oftentimes an entire block will be filled with parked cars where people are engaging in sex, and then they'll throw out their trash and used items onto the street. This has actually been happening for many years, but lately it seems to be escalating.
Escalating? See, look at the homes in this area. It is not, again, this is not Edgemont, California by any stretch of the imagination. These multi-million dollars, the homes you're looking at are probably a cheap one. A fixer-upper is probably going for $5 million. These are probably $10 million plus homes there in Lockwood, let me get it right, of that, California, on the west side of LA. Not your normal shanty town, wrong side of the tracks where the hookers usually are, but here we go.
During the day, this Larchmont neighborhood is picturesque. Longtime homeowners say it's when the sun goes down that things become sketchy and the unwanted encounters begin.
Sketchy? Unwanted encounters? Well, you expect that in Edgemont, but Larchwood? Wow.
They're taking advantage of a human need in a disgusting way.
Human need in a disgusting way. It was the same gentleman that was in 11 describing the semen-laid condoms with blood on them out in the middle of the street. Wow.
He says he often wakes up to this. A woman barely clothed walking across the street.
Man, I gotta give it to the old hookers, sir. Hey, if you're gonna do it, you might as well go. Might as well be good at it. You might as well grab all the bucks you can while you're doing it. Thought it was ironic, interesting to see this. I'm sure these girls are controlled by the cartels mostly, like most of that industry is. And that's why we got to, my world, we should legalize this, put it in areas, where it is, people over 18, 21, whatever, regulated, no problem. And again, like the gentleman said, it's a human need, but they're doing it in a disgusting manner. Get it where, it's going to happen. It's happened since the beginning of time. Time to quit sticking our heads in the sand and make the problem go away and make it manageable where we can all live and survive in the community. This one was a stunner. Bill O'Saley pulled it off. You want to know what's going on? This is your Federal Department of Justice. Bill O'Saley's the head dude out here in CA or Southern California. He just announced a $23 million bust on a vagrant scam. $23 million. This guy was buying $7 million luxury homes, living on the Ritz, vacationing, while feeding the vagrants top ramen, macaroni and cheese, and whatever. That's the story, the headline on IA Newswire on our take on the story. Let's get some of the KTLA5 report with Mr. O'Saley included in his press conference today, revealing it. Here we go.
Homelessness, fraud, and corruption task force announcing this huge arrest today. Officials say that the executive director at the center of this case misused taxpayer funds intended to help some of LA's most needy individuals.
Misused $23 million. He's taken 98.7% of it, stuffing it in his pockets, and then feeding the vagrants macaroni and cheese. Maybe spam if they're real lucky on Thanksgiving and Christmas.
He's accused of living the high life to the tune of $23 million instead of using public and taxpayer funds to help the homeless. That's according to federal and local officials who this morning arrested 42-year-old Alexander Sufer of Westwood at his multi-million-dollar home.
He lied to investigators when confronted. He provided fake invoices to make it appear that the payments to third vendors were legitimate. They were not.
Sufer is the executive director of the charity Abundant Blessings and was given tens of millions of dollars in funds between 2018 and 2025 to feed and house roughly 600 individuals across the greater LA area. That meant providing 3 nutritious meals a day. Instead, the assistant U.S. attorney Bill O'Saley alleges Sufer gave them this microwavable ramen.
This is what he was providing. Ramen noodles and a microwave.
Top ramen and a microwave for $23 million. The fraud that's been going on here. And as they said, tampon Timmy the retard Walls. As they said, this is nothing. Gavin Newsom and the crew are going to make him look like pikers in this stuff. If we talk about child fraud, Amy Reichert's starting to dig through some of it in California. Again, no kids in the daycare, $23 million for handing out a few boxes of top ramen and a microwave oven to the vagrants. This stuff is, again, we're just in the first stages. We're just in the we're just scratching the surface. Has to do with, though, I think a lot of them not running for California governor, and we'll have a little bit later on. Roy plan for California governor so far is working 111% perfectly. We'll have some new polling results out on that. But we've got a lot to do. And we're going to have to, if we don't buckle down and knuckle down and do it, in 26, we'll only have ourselves to blame. Saley got into a little bit with Gulag Gavin Newsom. He said, you're wrong. The California Newsom's popping off about totally false. The governor is not responsible for the fraud. We didn't do anything. We were more saintly than the Virgin Mary. As Sailor says, you who've been thwarted, shamed, and ridiculed at Davos, you are wrong, Mr. Newsom. You and California legislature facilitated this fraud by handing out billions of tax dollars to these nonprofits with zero vetting and zero state oversight. No one was arrested until until President Trump and Pam Bondi appointed me to investigate and charge fraud in the offenses in California. California could have brought these charges out before the arrest today, but did not. In fact, California has not brought any meaningful prosecutions for homeless fraud. All you have done is hand out our money, point a gun at us and take it, my commentary, to fraudsters and illegal immigrants. Tax-paying citizens deserve better. Hear to Mr. Assaili. No truer words have ever been spoken. And he doesn't screw around with these ding-dongs like Gavin Newsom. And when they lie, he calls it out, and that's what we need to do. In perpetuity, forever, in all of time. If you want this stuff to stop, if you want them to rob you blind till you don't have nothing left, then let's just keep going. We'll just keep going on the trajectory we have been. Hopefully, as Ronald Reagan said this morning in America, crime's down under Trump because we deported the illegals. New York Times, we'll have more on that a little bit. New York Times, and all the ruling class. Well, we don't know why. Crime went down in a year. We had no idea. Newsom had no idea this guy was ripping us. This one person was ripping us for $23 million. And torturing the poor vagrants on top of it. Utterly, almost off the charts, unbelievable. Oh, we're just getting wound up on this stuff. We get to BS Bonta. Shutting off the oil pipeline. Suing Trump for opening the oil pipelines up so we can at least have $5 a gallon of gas. No, that's not. We want it $10, $15, $20. Think I'm kidding? We'll play you that and more coming up. Yes, we will. It's been 1,111% an insane asylum that we've been dealing with. I look at some of this and the old adage, shaking your head. Some of this is just beyond unbelievable. Just like with that coming up, one of the things that it's coming up with, and you've seen these, Trump's approval ratings in the tank, it's been going down. It's in free fall, Harriet, and it's going down. It's in free fall. This out from new polls out from Emerson, not part of the vast right-wing conspiracy. Hispanic disapproval shift from disapprove to approve 27 points from December to January. 27 points. Hispanics were disapproving. At almost a 2-to-1 clip in December. Now it's almost even. Yet you see the polls, you've been hearing them. Even Mitchell and Barris have been a little bit behind, but Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen's finally catching up. He just posted this: Trump's overnight presidential job approval is in, basically, if you round it up, 50%. It's finally you're seeing the results of what's been going on with the Davos, with the Greenland deal imminent. Looks like there's a broker deal for to end the Ukraine war. We're starting to get tons of arrests, just like the one Bill O'Saley did today. This has them quaking in their boots. It's one of the things I've talked about a lot, but some don't exactly grasp the whole concept. Probably most of you that listen to the show do, but I mean, I'm talking from the center light or the kooks like they were down there protesting or threatening at the Kirk deal or Wednesday. They don't get the benefits of murder rate, lowest since 1900. Biggest drop in 1 year in 2025. Remember how they told us, oh, you know, it's those illegal aliens, they never commit a crime. Heck, they might even be more saintly than Gavin Newsom and the Virgin Mary on top of that. And you've been hearing since the statistics came out, well, we don't know how that happened. How did that happen? New York Times headline: what's behind the murder rate drop? No one knows for sure. Decline in homicide across the country was a stunning reversal after crime rose during the pandemic. It wasn't because we let 30 million illegals in, and that stopped, and 2.5 million have either deported or self-deported in the last year. Nothing, that would have nothing to do with this. It probably has almost everything to do with it. And as we continue the sweeps and getting out and getting people back to following the rule of law, if you want to have a civil society, you cannot have picking and choosing which laws you're going to break, who you're going to be courteous and respectful to, and who you're not. This is what we're talking about right here. They know damn well why it is. They just don't want to say it. That's what the big to-do is about. That's why I think that's why they're shining Gavin Newsom at Davos, because they understand this and even the international stuff and that. They see Trump's getting the job done. And yeah, I would have loved for him to get this stuff in gear and get it done faster, and it would have been 100% perfect. We don't live in a perfect world. And the bureau, you got to fight tooth and nail with the bureaucracy. It's just so entrenched and established that it's not easy. Go down there and try. Go to your local school board or your city council or county board of supervisors in your local area. Pick a subject or just something you think needs changed. Maybe you see the kids are getting wrong. Boys and girls sports. Should be as simple, should have even never happened, but even if it did, should be as simple as pie to fix. Look at that. We're still fighting that. They're so entrenched, it's extremely difficult. beyond the pale, really. Lady Dianne Feinstein was mayor of San Francisco before Gavin Newsom, of course, supervisor and then U.S. Senator for, 30 years till she died in office. Had this to say about immigration.
Should you have a system where people can come to this country, even if they're well-to-do, get on Medicaid and give birth to a baby and then go back? The answer is no. And we know that Medicaid laws are being used and abused to do just this in the state of California. I'd like to see that stopped.
That's birthright citizenship, folks. What they're talking about, and the Supreme Court has picked it up a long time. Well, yeah, the reason they were coming over to have the kid, not only for the free benefits, is it was an American citizen, then they'd go back to Mexico, but the kid had American citizenship, and then they could all come over, and then yada, yada, yada. It was Lady Dianne Feinstein, folks, that said that. Not that mean racist hillbilly Roy. And we've run the clips of it, but that's just the latest one that's come out. Thank for Mays and Elon for reposting that. Digging into that 30-plus year history. Remember, that was in the time of, that was a year before 187 passed, and Dianne Feinstein was doing that. 13 million, 13% of California prisoners, she said, were illegals. Griping about $300 million a year to spend on them. That number would be, the number we're probably spending is probably $10 billion in incarcerating illegals and then protecting them and letting them back out in society to terrorize, rape, murder, pillage. But the crime rate, well, we don't know why the crime rate went down. Right. We got it. It's one of those crazy, almost mixed up, almost unbelievable. But this is here. California high school administrators are going to have an ice out day. Amy Reichert from down there in San Diego posted this on the X machine. This is what it turned into. This is your sick. When you create the chaos, when you make people hate each other with the hateful rhetoric and all the crap, this is what you get. That was at the Ice Out rally at a California high school. Ice Out. Teach them to disrespect law enforcement. Hell with the rule of law. If we don't like the law, we're just going to disobey it because we can. It's called anarchy. And if we want to go back to that, fine. Then we will proceed accordingly on how you survive in an anarchist world. And we'll see if all the little snowflakes, like the little pukes that were trying to act badass against me down at Harvest, we're going to see how they like that. Some of this stuff is absolutely beyond the pale. Former CDC Director Robert Redfield now says that the COVID lab should not have been called, that COVID jab should not have been called a vaccine. It was never meant to prevent transmission. It probably was a misnomer to call it a vaccine. It was really more like a medicine. It doesn't stop infection. Here's Robert Redfield at the Heritage Foundation.
The problem is not the science of creating the vaccine. The problem was the public policy and how to use the vaccine. The vaccine should have never been mandated. It wasn't never meant to prevent transmission. It didn't prevent transmission. Probably was a misnomer to call it a vaccine. It's really more like a medicine. It doesn't stop infection. Children should have never been vaccinated. People shouldn't have been mandated to be vaccinated to go to school and work. So the policy side was totally misplayed.
And we were called every frickin' name in the book for saying exactly that. Now, Redfield, what was he, CDC director or whatever he was? Oh, well, you know, Ollie Oxen. Well, it wasn't really a vaccine. You really didn't, most people really didn't need it. It was more a medicine. Kids 100% shouldn't have had it. And they told us that we were all gonna die if we didn't get the clot shot.
Got about 30 seconds, Roy.
After the fact. And now we're going to have to deal with all the people and the consequences we're going to have medically and all that is going to cost us for all the people with all the collateral damage. Everything else is nuts. Sean said we'll join the Mighty Met KMET here in a few seconds. Pick up on some of the fun happenings that came on today and this week.
Here we go, 10 seconds.
It was faster than you.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the form of today and band. Join your vast video audience in the UWP Network, Rumble, X, YouTube. Type in IE Newswire, Roy Bleckert. You'll see my nice smiling face all over on that. We had, oh man, the hookers are going upscale. I got to give them in Larchmont, which is right next to Beverly Hills. High dollar homes. Fixer-uppers like $5 million. The hookers are just like rolling down the street in there and that, which I got to give them credit for that. At least they're going for the bucks on there. And I mean, if you're gonna do that, you might as well go for the gusto of that. But the people are just like up in arms of that. But the sad fact of this, and I've said it, Royism 101. This has gone on since the beginning of time. Like the gentleman said, it's a human need getting done in a disgusting manner out in public. We should legalize prostitution, whatever, 18, 21 or older, whatever you want to set the rules. It's over in this area. It's not all through the community. If you're doing that, hey, that's where you do to have your human need met, as they say. And the rest of it, let's get to a civil society. They still can't figure out why, or the elites, the pundits, and the naysayers, and the nattering nabobs of negativism that are trying to shove these false narratives down your throat. We don't know why crime went down precipitously. It's lower than it has been since the 1900s in 1 year. How did that happen? It had nothing to do with stopping 30 million illegals from coming in. 2.5 million of them have either been deported or self-deported, and voila, the crime rate went down. Like you've never seen before, like it's never went down in history. We were told, these illegal aliens, they are pure. The Gavin Newsom or the Virgin Mary or whatever else. But Hispanics are turning, they're turning basically even. They were 2-1 after they were listening to the ding-dongs on the, whatever stupid media or TikTok or whatever they're listening to, Telemundo, telling me how the world's falling apart. Well, after they're seeing reality of this, they're back to even. You're finally seeing it in the main pollsters, at least Mark Mitchell, Rasmussen's starting to crank it up. He's got today Trump at 50% approval rating. And he's the only one that does a daily approval rating for the presidency. Only pollster I know of. Bill O'Saley, our great U.S. attorney, everybody's clamoring for the arrest. Well, they got one today, $23 million homeless vagrant fraud case. He bought $7 million homes here, one's on the French Riviera, some darn place, and gave the vagrants a microwave and a few frozen, or a few boxes of top ramen. I wonder if he even gave them some bottles of water to mix in with it. And then Newsom said, oh, I had nothing to do with it. This is why we need more Bill O'Saleys. He said, screw you, Newsom. Stuff it up your urine. Well, he didn't. He put it nicer than I did. He said, you were the one that caused all this. You're the one that gave him the fraud, and you never prosecuted one of these. One. Thank heavens we have Mr. O'Saley on the job. As we saw here on, and ran the report of that. He had the press conference today. Absolutely fabulous for that. Maybe we got a flying chance of straightening this stuff out. Rob Bonta, $5 a gallon gas and going to 10. We've had the USC reports. That complete moron, Rob Bonta, our Attorney General, is proud. He's suing the Trump administrations for trying to turn the pipelines on or keep them flowing so we could, maybe we could just keep it at $5 a gallon instead of going to 7. He said, no, hell no, we're going to stop that. Here's Rob Bonta in his presser up by the Bay Area. Here
the Trump administration unlawfully undermined California's authority, unlawfully federalized the pipelines and usurped state control, and unlawfully issued Sable a sham emergency permit to begin pumping oil when there's absolutely no emergency.
No emergency? The refiners are closing. The pipeliners are saying, hey, we're going to shut this down because we can't even pump enough oil to get it to the refineries because you got to have a certain amount to go through the pipeline or the pipeline plugs up, you frickin' moron. That's not an emergency that you created. Let's get to the experts. This is on California Insider. Hopefully, here we go.
And closure of these pipelines could actually impact the supply of gasoline in California. And this is all with physics, because these pipelines can't operate if they don't have enough oil in them.
When you can't drill new wells and your production declines, then the production is going to decline into the pipeline. Because of the crude that is in the pipelines, our crude is so heavy and so thick, if you don't keep it in turbulent flow and kind of mixing as it goes, it will set up. And we're getting to the point where it's almost out of turbulent flow.
And at a certain point, if the production drops any further, engineering-wise, it's not viable. I mean, the physics won't work. You have to shut it down.
That's not an emergency, according to BS Rob Bonta. And he's suing the Trump administration for coming out here and saying, you complete idiots out here in California, you're insane. There's the experts, oil industry. That's Mike Mischke, who put out the report, says if you don't stop this, it's going to $10 a gallon. We'll be getting all our gasoline from China or Japan or some darn thing. That sounds like a really good plan, Rob Bonta, Gulag Gavin Newsom.
Probably below 20% of supplying our own internal oil, internally produced oil to California. We're about 20% of that capacity. So we've gone from 94% 30 years ago to less than 20% today, which means
when California was the once golden state 30 years ago, before the teachers' unions and ding-dongs like Gray Davis and Newsom and Willie Brown and hosed this whole area. We were producing 95% of the oil right here in California. We pumped it out of the frickin' ground. We sent it to the refineries. They sent it down the pipelines or in truck to the gas stations, and we had some of the cheapest gas in the frickin' world. Now they want to shut it completely down. We are in danger of having to close the pipelines because there's not enough oil flowing through that it's going to coagulate, plug up like your toilet if it gets stuffed up, and nothing's going to move. And then things start stinking. Well, it's going to stink really bad in the state if Rob Bonner keeps this stupid stuff up. And then, well, why? Why is Valero closing the Benicia plant and Phillips 66 closing the one down here in Torrance? And why are they doing that? Well, even if they wanted to keep them open, where's the freaking oil coming from, stupid? This stuff is, it's almost unbelievable if it's true. But it's true. We're living it. And you know what? If we're stupid enough to vote Rob Bonner back in as Attorney General, we deserve to pay $20 a gallon gas. If we don't get off our asses and get in the game and start doing something, start getting involved, drag whatever you have to do, your friends, neighbors to the polls, fill out their ballots like the rats do. Ballot harvesting is legal in California. This came out in the Atlantic. Gavin Newsom has record is a problem. From the gas to the pollution to the roads to the stupid bullet train that never got built to the billions and that to the homeless fraud and everything else. This is in the Atlantic. One of your left-wing kookiest publications ever since I can remember, and I've been on this frickin' planet for parts of 7 decades. This stuff is, again, it better, especially not only nationwide, but especially in California, we better get our ish together. The great Donald J. Trump, Gavin Newsom, as a lamed-up governor from a failing state, should not be at Davos running around screaming for attention to foreign leaders. He shouldn't even be here. Well, he won't be. In less than a year. We better have it together. And those in you, the center-right, freedom, liberty types, I'm telling you, this is how we win. We can put a center-right governor in California. But we're going to do this. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it. We have to do it by June. Some new polling just came out. It's actually done by PPP polling. It's a Katie Porter internal poll. Yes, the nutcase, Katie Porter. My. Bianco is number 1 at 18%. Steve Hilton, number 2 at 17%. Porter, 11. Swalwell, Steyer, and on down the list. It's exactly what we have to do. Split that vote evenly, that 40% rock solid. And if we gain more, the merrier. We know we got 40% of the rock solid vote built in is going to vote for the center-right candidate. So we split that evenly 20%. Or just like this poll, say, the undecideds break evenly across the board. So Bianco and Hilton, say Bianco's at 21 and Steve Hilton's at 20, and Katie Porter's at 17 and Swalwell's at 11 or whatever. We have the top two primary that the rats wanted. So the choice, if the election results were this, whatever, June 5th, I think, this year, or whenever they're certified 30 days later, on July 4th, when the Secretary of State stamps the election, and these are the results right here, the choice is going to be Bianco and Hilton. We win. Then you fight it out. I'm comfortable with either one. I've said that. Chad said Steve's a great guy. Steve said Chad's a great guy. When we're running, and in fact, they're two best. Steve and Chad are both their best friends right now because they need each other to win. Because you can take the Betty Yee, who only doesn't get like 1% on this, beats Bianco by like 15 and maybe Hilton by 16. And it goes up from there. If Katie Porter is number 2, there's hardly a snowball chance in hell either Steve or Chad can beat them. So if we're smart, Carl DeMaio and stuff, you not support one candidate. No, you're going to lose. We're going to win this in June. June is where we, on the center-right freedom and liberty types, are going to win this election. Hands down, without a doubt. And it's within reach. They're playing. Their last hope, Caruso's out. Their last hope is they're twisting San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan's arm to run in there because they think maybe they can consolidate enough support around him to get him in the top 2 or, to push out Bianco or Hilton. And they figure at least they got a fighting, if they can do that, they're going to win, but their problem is now they don't have a candidate that can beat Steve or Chad in the top 2 right now. So even though Matt Mahan or Betty Yee could win, and most likely would win in November against either Steve or Chad, if we shut them out in June, it's over. At least from that part, we are getting a center-right, freedom and liberty type Republican governor in California in 2026. And who would have ever bet on that? All you cats in the center-right, you've been losing for 30 years. And do you want to pound the same strategy like you've done before that hasn't worked? And not face the reality of the situation we've got now. We are the underdog. We don't have the money. We don't have the resources. We don't even have the votes. We don't have the support in California. If the recall election didn't that, or Prop 50 election didn't tell you that, or the Trump elections, how he's gotten hosed on all of them, or anything else, how the elections have went the last 30 years, and we have a 75% majority in the House of kooks, the strategy worked for the Democrats. They took over Senate District seat in 2022, Senate District 4. 20-plus Republican registration. They split the vote evenly 2020 because it's 60-40, just like this, except the opposite way. There were 6 or 7 Republican candidates. They got less than the top 2. You have a Democrat senator and a plus 20. Well, she switched to Republican because she knows she's got to do that to win in 26. But they get elected a Democrat senator because they know how to play the game. They play it to win. Let's play the frickin' game to win. If we play the frickin' game to win, we got a good shot at doing it. We got a shot of pulling off the Miracle on Ice in 1980, the hockey team, the USA hockey team, or Indiana football this year. Do we got the chops to reach out and grasp it? That remains to be seen. You know, being from the retarded half of the population, and maybe I'm just retarded, but I think, you know, you and the smarter half, you're in danger of losing that title. Now chicks are getting ice branded. This is what we used to do, or we do, I mean, we still do, for cows. The smarter half of the population is getting branded like cattle. Here it is. They call it ice branding because you take it and you put it in dry ice, which gets it to a very low temperature. And then you see there he's holding it on there for about 15 seconds. And it actually burns a branding into your skin.
Oh my God!
So the smarter half of the population thinks it's cool to be branded like cattle. Never thought I'd see this day come. But it's here. Amy Bach, mastermind of the Minnesota's biggest fraud scheme. I wish I could go back and do things differently. Yes, with all the fraud coming out, this is a mastermind. This is a CBS Morning Report. Here we go.
Of Minnesota's biggest COVID-era fraud scheme. Her name is Amy Bach. She's 44 years old, and she is not part of the Somali community. Last year, she was convicted of orchestrating a $250 million plot to defraud government program to feed hungry
$250 million. This is your mastermind.
kids. She spoke to CBS News Minnesota correspondent Jonah Kaplan, who joins us now. Jonah, good morning. We all want to hear what she has to say. Good morning to you.
Gail, good morning. As you mentioned, there's been so much focus on the Somali community here in Minnesota because of the widespread fraud. And most of the suspects charged and convicted in the schemes, they are from the Somali community. But as you mentioned, the mastermind, according to prosecutors, federal prosecutors, she is not Somali. And Amy Bach, when we spoke to her, it's rare for someone to speak with us in federal custody, but she expressed some regrets and defended her actions. We were allowed 1 hour to speak with Amy Bach over a video call from her Minnesota jail cell.
Now I can hear you, yes.
Until she was arrested in 2022, Bach led Feeding Our Future. The now infamous nonprofit signed up restaurants and caterers, many from Minnesota's large Somali community, to receive taxpayer money for providing meals to children in need.
During COVID, for obvious reasons, parents were allowed to come and pick up meals. So we suddenly were able to reach more children.
So we were suddenly able to get more fraud going. There's your mastermind of the Somali community. Look at the diversity and equity and inclusion and all the, we got a very light brown skin and a very dark skin and a medium and a hat and fluffy ears and rainbow colors and feeding our future and isn't it all lovey-dovey?
Led Feeding Our
But I didn't do anything wrong. I wish I could go back to do things differently so I didn't get caught, is the way I read it. The other stunning revelation from Amy Bach was on Fox. Convicted Minnesota fraudster alleges Wallace and Ellison were aware of the widespread fraud. Amy Bach says Tim Wallace and Keith Ellison need to be held accountable. Need to be held accountable. Bach alleged the state approved the program, sponsors, and was responsible for monitoring claims, but officials repeatedly failed to investigate and stop suspicious companies after she flagged them. I honestly believe Keith Ellison and Keith Walsh need to be held accountable. There needs to be more accountability. I have to believe that the governor's office and Keith Ellison's office were aware of this. They said they were involved in helping the FBI. They said they were aware, but apparently I'm scary, so they couldn't do anything. So she knew that was going on. Then how did she not? Why didn't she blow the whistle if she wasn't complicit in this? Trying now to do this, but you saw how it was feeding our future and all the diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you know, if you don't agree with this, you're a racist, homophobe, sexist. Why don't you come over here and get your cattle stamp on your back? Get the dry ice. Did you see how red the chick's skin was after that? After the whatever, I think it's like, it's way below, like 50 or 100 degrees below zero is what that dry ice branding is. I don't even think I wouldn't do it on a human. It's probably safe for cows because they're, you know what, they weigh a ton or 2 tons or something. Little Missy over there at 110 pounds, you know, you don't have the thick skin like a cow does. That's why they can get away with it. Besides being stupid, they're branding you so you have whatever, if you want to get to the Bible stuff, or you got the mark of the beast or whatever. So they can tell, they can put you in a classification. They will do whatever it takes to get you to comply. If they don't sweet talk you into it, they will do it by force. So your only shot is not to comply to stupid or tyranny or taking away your property or taking away your future or anyone else's, because that's what they're on to do. Whether they're trying to stop the pipeline, they'll do anything to get gas so high you cannot afford to drive. Or even if you can afford it, you can't even get it. You know, your $500,000 Ferrari ain't worth a crap if you can't put gasoline in it. It's about as useless as a moon rock at that point. What a wild week we've had, man. But the good news is I think we've seen more positives come out of this week, or starting in 26, than we have in a long time. So we just need to build on that. Look to the future. It's not necessarily going to be the smoothest path. Going to be bumps in the road. But ultimately, that's what makes you tough enough to survive. Because the other option is not acceptable for any reason, any cause, and should not be for anyone. We shall see of how she plays out. That'll do it for this week. We usually say at this time, mandatory, you're back here in 71 hours live. You're the best darn show in the whole wide world. Till then, see ya.
The preceding was a paid program.
All right, Roy. So how'd that thing in Riverside turn out for you?
That was fun.
Uh-huh. Well, at least you didn't get attacked, I guess. You know.
Well, no, they didn't. They weren't as badass as they thought they were. They thought they were going to intimidate me, and they found out that didn't work out well for them.
Well, that's good. That's good. At least it turned out okay for you.
Yeah. No, I wasn't that nervous about it, but you never know when you're in that situation where you got 40 people surrounding you like that. You never know if some stupid a-hole is going to do something really dumb.
That's right. Yeah.
You can't guarantee that, but I didn't. Looking at the crowd that was there, I was thinking, well, these guys ain't capable of that.
All right, Roy. Well, have a good weekend.